Global happenings today. We communicate, we analyze global news. Stay tuned. Hello guys, welcome to Global Happenings today. We have a trending news here for you, and the headline of the news reads, Hope Uzodinma unveil those who are plotting to overthrow Buhari. But before we go on with details of the news and further analysis, we'd like to encourage you to please subscribe to our channel by clicking on the red subscribe button and also on the bell icon so that you can get notification anytime we publish videos on YouTube. Alright, let's look at the news in detail. The new governor of Imo State, Governor Hope Uzodinma, has alleged that Igbo leaders in the main opposition, People Democratic Party (PDP), are plotting to topple the government of President Muhammadu Buhari. In a statement he personally signed and made available to reporters in Owerri, the state capital, he described the nationwide protest by the PDP over his victory at the Supreme Court as a veiled version of the Revolution Now protest. The former lawmaker claimed that although the opposition was pretending that his court victory was the main reason for the taking to the street, the truth is that there is more to it. The governor accused those leading the protest of harboring a hidden agenda because they know that the sacked PDP governorship candidate Ihedioha never won the election in Imo, and they also know that the election petition was dead and buried. The governor noted that when APC suffered same loss in Zamfara and other states, no one protested, adding that this does not mean political leaders in those places are cowards or fools, but patriotic Nigerians who respect the law and institution of the land. He further said, and I quote, "The protest is a script, a veiled vision of Revolution Now agenda to topple the federal government, and it is unfortunate that Igbo leaders are wittingly and unwittingly lending themselves to the actualization of these perfidious agenda, thereby making themselves willing sacrificial lamb and also endangering the lives of innocent Igbos all over the country. I think of these Igbo leaders, if these Igbo leaders should do a sober soul search, they will realize that the people from the Northwest who remain calm and law-abiding when the Supreme Court sacked all the elected officers from governor to national and state assemblies of APC and gave same to PDP were either cowards nor fools, but patriotic Nigerians who respect the law and institution of the land. These Igbo leaders should try and look beyond their noses, and maybe they will see that they are being set up as intemperate, volatile, lawless group of people who can be used to rock the boat because they can be goaded into hasty actions and will not play by the rule of civility and democracy. If they look carefully, they will also see that it was not by accident that no prominent leader from any other part of the country was marked present at those protests. Uzodinma added that it was a shame that it is Igbo leaders who will be remembered for the very unpatriotic act of openly inviting foreign powers to interfere in the internal affairs of the country. Senator Uzodinma pointed out that it was an open secret that the protests are hugely funded from somewhere to discredit the entire electoral process, not because of the Imo judgment, but because the PDP has a gross to settle with the entire 2019 election and will do anything to bring down the entire federal government apparatus. If Igbo decides to exit themselves from a family boss with enough seats to accommodate every family member, they should have themselves to blame when they find themselves on the fringe of the family business. All right, that's the news, and we would like to also consider some of the responses of Nigerians in respect to these allegation, because I consider it an allegation because there is no evidence to prove that actually they staged a protest because they want to topple the government of Muhammadu Buhari. We all know that virtually everyone know that what we saw there was actually against, the fundamental human right of Emeka Ihedioha, and it was a clear display of the state of our judiciary, and that's why Nigerians were crying out. We're still hoping that during the review a lot of things will happen, though we are yet to ascertain if the judiciary is still interested in reviewing their verdict. But before we go into further analysis, let me just look at some of the response of Nigerians to this open letter he sent out about Igbo leaders being behind toppling the government of President Muhammadu Buhari. All right, the first one says, by these unfortunate accusations against his kinsman, Hope Uzodinma has confirmed the speculation that he was imposed on the state and entire southeast to actualize Islamization agenda as vigorously being pursued, but he is not God. And this one said, you are a liar. You want to gain favor from your masters. You have been a 419 from the beginning. And there are other responses, but I think that's where we're going to stop. Let's just look at these precisely. Right now, the lawyers of Emeka Ihedioha had already sent out their own reason demanding for a review of the verdict by the Supreme Court judges, and we are yet to ascertain if they have accepted to review their verdict, because currently it wasn't just a one-man thing. It was nationally being talked about. Most people have the opinion that if that particular verdict is accepted, it will be one of the poorest judicial precedent that can ever be referred to, because there were obvious reasons why such verdict must be reconsidered again, why it must be reviewed again before acceptance. They stated their reasons and all of that. But from what Hope Uzodinma is trying to do right now, I think that he's trying to see how he can bring in the federal might into the whole thing. He's trying to see, the first thing I sense is fear on his part. He's really scared because he already, if he sits down and begin to consider some of the responses of Nigerians, about the verdict that brought him into power as the Imo State governor, he will realize that there are bountiful truth in everything Nigerians said. How can number 4 position jump to number 1? And not just jumping to number 1, it would have been accepted, but for the fact that the number of votes cast, which has been accepted by the Supreme Court, was even more than the accredited voters. That was the major reasons Nigerians were screaming, because when you do your permutation, addition, and subtraction, then you will realize that that particular result does not hold. And don't forget that the reason for cancellation of those results was the fact that it was actually traceable to people who were actually not accredited to vote in the election. That was why those results were cancelled. And apart from just that, there were other reasons. For example, some people were of the opinion that why it should also be reviewed is the fact that Hope Uzodinma position, from 4th position down to 1st position was quite questionable. How about those who were in 2nd position? How about those who were in 3rd position? So there was a lot that people had, given as response to the fact that he is come. But right now, what I'm saying is that he's trying to distract. He's trying to see how he can reawaken other direction or create other direction where people can channel their energies to. He's trying to see how he can bring in the government, because anytime we hear about toppling of a present-day government, it's considered as treasonable felony. But the first question that everyone will ask you is, when they were going out to do the protest, what were they actually protesting for? The main reason for the protest was that they are uncomfortable with the victory that was given to Hope Uzodinma, and it should be reviewed. So trying to bring in a revolution now, protest, agenda, and all of that. A revolution, this guy is not even a member of PDP. The person who was behind, the issue of revolution and protest, he wasn't even a member of PDP. He just sat back, and I'm talking about Omoyele Sowore, and came up with it. And that issue has already been trashed. Right now, it is in court. During also that period of protest, there was no person who was in support, there was no person from the camp of Omoyele Sowore who was part of the protest, whereby you can point fingers and say it's actually, a continuation of the revolution and protest. They went out, they registered their displeasure, and they are hoping that the Supreme Court will do something about it. So trying to link it up, for me, it's an indication of fear. You're trying to show Nigerians that you are scared. You know that victory, he knows very well that the victory that he got, in the Supreme Court was not worth it. Don't forget also that after the uproar by Nigerians, after the verdict of Imo State, and there was so much uproar by Nigerians, overall, as the CGN, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, has to stay off from other these things, Supreme Court proceeding in respect to election. He had to stay off because a lot of people talk down on him. They believe that he doesn't have the capacity to sit in that position, because that position, let's be very factual, is meant for people who cannot be influenced. So Nigerians believe that he had been influenced a great deal, and that is why he had to give such horrible verdict. There's so much hope, and I think that hope is one thing that is really scaring Hope Uzodinma right now. There's so much hope that that verdict will be reconsidered. In 2007 or 2006 precisely, when the case of this guy came up, Peter Obi came up, it was something like this. Peter Obi and Andy Uba, it was something like this where he won. But hey, even when the Supreme Court came up with their verdict, he had to state reasons why the verdict should be reviewed again. And by the time it happened, it was given back to Peter Obi. So I think that is where he's really scared right now, because it will be a huge shame if the members of that committee, that's those who sat in the Supreme Court, begin to reconsider everything that they did and decide to say, let's give back the power to Emeka Ihedioha. It will be a slap of a lifetime to him, and that's in respect to his political career, and that's why he's doing everything to see that it doesn't happen. Drawing in the federal might right now will not work, and the reason why I believe that it will not work is the fact that there are so many issues that is in the table of the federal government. Topmost on the list is the case of insecurity. Topmost in the list is the fact that kidnapping has taken over. It has been the issue that have taken up the minds of Nigerians. We've seen the case of how the Christian Association of Nigerian chairman in the Adamawa state was beheaded by Boko Haram. Apart from that, Fulani headsmen have been threatening lives. So right now, focus is there. So trying to see how you can handle your own. If it is truly according to your man of God, it is the workings of God for you to be there. Time will tell. All right, that's where we're going to leave it. Go to our comment section. Let us interact. What do you think about this particular case of telling the government that the march by the PDP members was a step towards toppling the government?